My name is Dilrabo Samadova. I'm human rights defender from Tajikistan. I'm human rights lawyer and very fortunate person to run youth human rights organization, which working on promoting civil and political rights in Tajikistan, involving young generation of activists to protection of human rights and dissemination of equality and non-discrimination. Even as a kid, I saw a lot of injustice, a lot of deaths during the Civil War, and I think this was the one of the reasons why I decided to become a lawyer. I participated in the several trainings on human rights, and I really liked the topic. So I tried to become the trainer on human rights, and I was accepted. I trained human rights in the school for 2 years. I really enjoyed training, teaching, and disseminating information about the human rights. And in the end of the second year, the administration of the school asked me to leave the school because my pupil, my class, became very protective of their rights. They didn't allow the administration to interfere and limit their rights. And it was the first time I saw that the human rights is weapon. It's a peaceful weapon. It make people strong. 7 of my course mates, after the graduation of law faculty, we founded youth organization, Young Human Rights Defenders Amparo, which protected youth generation rights, especially those activists, those young people who served in the army, who faced torture in the army. And um, we were expecting support from the government because we were combating violation, we were combating torture, we were combating hazing in the army. But unfortunately, we were surprised after a couple of months of our work because the combating torture turned to combating us as a human rights defenders. A lot of military organizations were not agree with our results, with our fundings, and our organization was liquidated after several years of active work with the court decision. But I think this decision made us more stronger. We understood that human rights need more work, more people, more education, and we started to involve more young activists to promoting human rights in the country. I believe to invest, to promote, to educate the young generation will bring a lot of change to our country. And after we started to involve volunteers, young people to our work, we started to cover a lot of interesting topics. We widen our work. Moreover, we widen our understanding of human rights. We put art in our work. We put music in our work. Creativeness, digital IT specialists became to help us to promote human rights through the digital sphere and space. We started creating comics, videos, musics, electronic books, very interesting products to cover all generation from 8 years to 80 years, and explain that human rights, it's not just in the court, it's not just in the very smart books or encyclopedias, it's everywhere. We had a dance exhibition in our north of Tajikistan, showing the importance of girls' rights to choose whom to marry, what to learn, where to work, how to travel. It was dance about who can decide whom I can marry and when I can marry. And it was a comedy together with strategy. In the beginning, as a lawyer, I couldn't understand the importance and how we can use comics or dance or guitars, music to explain people human rights, to promote human rights. But when the comic started to show the life of kids without house in some other space, without access to housing, to water, a lot of kids understand the importance of housing, importance of the protection of the environment, the responsibility of the government. When to explain the responsibility of the government is very difficult for the kids, but when they see it in the comics, it's totally different. Also, kids work with parents. They infect, let's say, infect their parents with the human rights, and we receive really interesting ideas. Mostly, we receive all ideas and instruments from our volunteers. We created two very interesting spaces in the capital of Tajikistan, Dushanbe, in Khujand, the north of Tajikistan. This is a beautiful space for young people, for activists, for practical lawyers, journalists, NGO workers, everybody who want to learn, share, support, who are solidar with human rights, who want to support the work of human rights defenders. These spaces are open. We have more than 10 different clubs on human rights, connecting with human rights, with the eco-activism, with the eco-activism, IT, digital world. We have a connection with the Society of Lawyers. We turn to young lawyers. We also invite them to conduct trainings to support the ideas of our volunteers. We have a connection with the journalists who work on human rights. So our space is also open for journalists who work on the democracy, journalist investigation, promoting human rights, access to information. So different professions, different age come together with in the frames of different clubs and meetings. They share, they discuss, and our task is to support, to find resources to implement their ideas. So they really feel involved, they really feel supported. And the very important part of our work is providing legal assistance and support when the human rights defenders, activists, even young activists, journalists, lawyers face persecution and or pressure because of their work. So we train them, we accompany during the implementation, we support them during if they face persecution. Tajikistan had survived civil war. It was 5 years of war, and since 1997, government and the population put a lot of efforts to develop the country. We had a lot of developing and supporting programs and projects in the country. Tajikistan suddenly became independent and member of UN. In the beginning of the independent Tajikistan was quite good, even it was poor and almost totally collapsed after the war. But as a global trend, Tajikistan civil society space is also shrinking, especially last 6-7 years. The situation is deteriorating with human rights and civil society. Significant human rights, civil and political rights are violating. Tajikistan have really bad place in the different reporting on human rights by the international organization, by UN mechanism. It's a high level of corruption, and civil and political rights year by year are deteriorating. We have a lot of cases of arbitrary detention, torture, inhuman treatment, even arbitrary killings. A lot of people left without support, left without the representatives. We have a really small amount of lawyers in the country who can provide with legal support, legal assistance. 800 lawyers for 10 million of population in the country, when we have a mountain regions difficultly accessible. Some regions has no lawyer, like you can imagine, no lawyer in the city or in the village. We have an ombudsman in Tajikistan, but again, it's a lack of independence of the ombudsman, financial independence, access to legislation, the initiative to adopt the legislation, um, and some other limitation to fulfill the ombudsman's obligations. I would love to say something positive and finish my story about human rights in Tajikistan with something positive, but I would tell that we have a really beautiful mountain and nature. We have really great people in Tajikistan, very strong, very positive, and I hope very soon I will share proudly that the situation with human rights defenders is changing to the better with this great new generation of population. We have persecution and pressure of human rights defenders, journalists, lawyers, political activists. A lot of my colleagues, unfortunately, during the last 3 years were imprisoned. They received real criminal imprisonment sentence starting from 7 years to life imprisonment. Those with whom we worked shoulder to shoulder, with whom we combat against torture. More than 700 NGOs were liquidated during last 18 months. It's a huge number. Number of my colleagues were pushed to move from the country, were relocated of the situation because they could be arrested or harassed. We can work a lot of years, use spending a lot of resources, but no result because we cannot see and feel political will from the government. We don't have law on the human rights defenders activity in Tajikistan, no in Central Asian countries too. There is no mechanism I can um, rally on, or I can believe that can help me in some difficult situation. So it's our personal risk, it's our personal decision. Despite the fact that the situation is very difficult, we keep dialogue with the government. We share our ideas. We try to convince them to promote human rights and keep fulfilling the obligation on human rights. Very often we hear that human rights came to Tajikistan from west or east, but we cannot agree with this because the first declaration on human rights were created by Kurushi Kabir. It's one of our heroes, the third century, um, where he accepted human rights as a natural belong to all humans. There is no conflict between human rights and security if you do correct policy and good legislation, good governance. For the government to promote the security and economic stability is a human rights defenders and civil society, and government should be supportive. The government in the high level understand better importance of human rights, but those who implement the law in the small cities and villages, and they are doing opposite of the national politics, and they are putting a lot of pressure to human rights defenders. We have a less attention and support from the international society. Sometimes people even doesn't know that such country exists. Human rights defenders have really, if you compare with even other Central Asian countries, very limited financial support. I promised my team that I will retire as soon as we purchase the space in Dushanbe. We have risk that we can lose one of our spaces in capital, And losing the space means that we will limit the possibility and opportunity for the young generation of the capital to come to the space and learn and do everything, implement the initiative. So we announced the crowdfunding in Tajikistan and asked our friends abroad to help us to share information.